Hidden Quran verse unlocks peace from Jinn. True story. Have you ever heard of a man tormented by whispers of Jinn, who found peace in a single Quran verse? He opened the mushaf at random, and suddenly the voices stopped. What he discovered wasn't magic, but the hidden power of Allah's words. Stay with me, because what happened next will leave you trembling and amazed. In the silent corners of a crowded city, where skyscrapers pierced the clouds and neon lights blurred the boundaries between day and night, a young man named Yasir carried a secret. To those who knew him, he was polite, hardworking, and ordinary. But inside his soul, shadows lurked, whispering words that didn't belong to him. For years, he had been haunted, not by his own thoughts, but by something far darker. At night, when the world was quiet, whispers slithered into his ears. Sometimes they laughed, sometimes they screamed, and sometimes they spoke in languages Yasir couldn't understand. He often woke drenched in sweat, his heart pounding as if it were trying to escape his chest. He knew he was not mad. He knew these voices were real. They were Jinn, unseen beings who had chosen him as their battlefield. Doctors had failed him. They told him it was stress, sleeplessness, or delusion. Friends mocked his fears. Even his family told him to stop imagining things. But Yasir's body bore witness. Scratches would appear on his arms without him touching anything. Shadows would move across his room even when he was alone, and the weight of something unseen would press down on his chest when he tried to pray. It was during one such night, lying breathless with the whispers clawing at his mind, that Yasir felt a sudden urge to open the Quran. His hands trembled as he reached for it. His fingers opened the mushaf randomly, as if guided by something beyond himself. His eyes fell upon a verse. It wasn't a verse he had memorized before, but the moment he read it, something changed. His heart, which had been racing, slowed. The weight on his chest eased. The whispers that had been tormenting him fell silent, like snakes retreating into the earth. The verse shone in his mind as though it had been hidden until that moment, waiting just for him. He recited it again, his voice shaking, and with each repetition, he felt a strange light bloom inside his heart. Peace, something he hadn't tasted in years, descended upon him like a soft breeze. But peace wasn't permanent. The next night, the whispers returned, more furious than ever. They laughed at him, mocked him for thinking he could escape. His room grew unbearably cold. His lamp flickered though there was no wind, and Yasir felt the unseen hands pushing him closer to despair. But now he had a weapon. He whispered the verse again, and the Jinn screeched in his ears, their voices distorted with rage. He could almost feel them retreating, clawing at the walls, unable to stand against the words of Allah. That night, Yasir understood something. Allah had shown him a secret verse, not in the sense that it was hidden from the Quran, but in the sense that it was hidden from his heart until the exact moment he needed it most. It was as if Allah himself had opened a door for him in the darkness. Determined to fight, Yasir began reciting the verse every night. He wrote it down on a small piece of paper and kept it under his pillow. During the day, whenever dark thoughts entered his mind, he would whisper it under his breath. Slowly, he began to feel stronger. He noticed that the whispers didn't last as long. The cold presence in his room weakened. The nightmares lessened. But with each victory, the Jinn fought harder. One evening, while walking home from work, Yasir suddenly felt his body freeze. His legs refused to move, his vision blurred, and a voice echoed in his head. "You cannot run from us. You belong to us." Yasir panicked, his tongue heavy, but then he forced himself to recite the verse. With every syllable, the chains holding him broke. His vision cleared, and he stumbled to the ground, gasping for breath as though he had escaped drowning. That night, Yasir wept on his prayer mat. "Ya Allah," he cried, "I am weak. I cannot fight them alone. Show me your mercy." He fell asleep with tears still wet on his face. In his dream, he saw a figure clothed in light, reciting the same verse. The figure didn't speak, but pointed to Yasir's heart. When Yasir awoke, he knew the message. The true strength of the verse wasn't just in his tongue, but in his heart's connection to Allah. If he recited it with sincerity, with full belief that Allah was his protector, then no whisper, no shadow, no jinn could overcome him. From then on, Yasser didn't just recite the verse mechanically. He recited it with conviction, imagining light pouring into his soul with every word. He carried himself differently. He prayed with more khushu. He gave charity, seeking to cleanse his wealth and his heart. He began reading more Qur'an, realizing that every verse was a fortress if only he held on to it. The whispers weakened, fading into faint murmurs he could barely hear. The shadows in his room disappeared. Nights that had once been filled with fear were now filled with peace. But the final test came unexpectedly. One night, as a storm raged outside, Yasser felt the presence again, stronger than ever before. His window rattled, the lights went out, and the room filled with a suffocating darkness. The voices screamed, not in whispers but in deafening roars. "We will not leave you," they thundered. Yasser's body trembled, his heart raced, but instead of fear, he felt a strange calm wash over him. He stood, raised his hands, and recited the verse aloud with all his strength, his voice echoing against the walls. The room shook violently, as if unseen beings were thrashing in agony. The air grew heavy, then lighter, then completely still, and then silence. A silence so profound that Yasser could hear his own heartbeat slowing. He felt a warmth spread through the room, not from the storm outside, but from within his chest. For the first time in years, he knew it was over. The jinn had been defeated, not by him, but by the words of Allah, by the power of the Qur'an that unlocked the peace hidden deep within his soul. From that night on, Yasser became a different man. He was no longer haunted, no longer afraid of the darkness. He became a source of light for others, sharing his story with anyone struggling with whispers, doubts, or unseen fears. He told them, "The Quran is not just a book to be read. It is a shield, a light, a cure. Every verse is alive, waiting for the heart that truly believes." People who heard his story began turning back to the Quran, searching for their own hidden verses, unlocking their own peace. And Yasser never forgot the night when Allah showed him that one verse at the moment he needed it most. He lived the rest of his life with gratitude, his heart always whispering, "Subhanallah, the Quran is a mercy, a light, and the greatest protection from all that is unseen." If this story touched your heart, remember, the Quran is your shield, your cure, and your path to peace. Don't let a day pass without reciting it. Subscribe to Deen in Minute for more powerful stories that bring the light of Islam into your life. Share this with someone who needs hope today.